do-it-yourselfers. Today on the channel we're going to be going step by step through sink installation process, specifically for this double bowl sink here in this apartment that I'm remodeling. If you're interested in this sort of content, make sure you pop the clutch and that subscribe button. Check out all these social media platforms. Otherwise, let's get to it. In this case, we've got a Dayton dual bowl sink, model number K233224. Dayton, made right here in the USA. Highly recommend them. We're installing the Delta Classic faucet with sprayer. We're going to drop it in right here. You see here, we got some brand new tile floor, new cabinets, countertop, whole 9 yards. So we're running through the process here of installing the dual bowl sink, brand new faucet, whole 9 yards. In order to do this job, you need a flathead screwdriver, or you can rig up something that looks similar to this specialty tool right here. But if you have the time, you can pick this up at Lowe's for $15. It's by ELKAY. Long 10 1/4 inch shank for hard to reach spaces makes sink installation easier. Special self-aligning head design gives you a secure fit, durable steel body. Model number ELKAY3508. It's made in China and it is compatible with ELKAY brand sinks and other brands with similar drop-in installation hardware. You can pause the video if you'd like. Gives you the basics right here on the back of the package, which we'll get into here in a second. Now, in the event that you are someone who has a brand new countertop and you don't have a hole for your sink, you can easily make a hole for your sink. You just basically got to do some measuring, measure from the left to the right, whatever cabinetry you've got. That way you know the distance between the left and the right where the sink's going to go to. You take your brand new sink out of the box here, place it on top of the counter, hold it steady, make sure it's nice and even all the way around. You draw your line in pencil all the way around this thing. After you do that, you remove this, measure out about 5/16 of an inch from the outside of that line to the inside here, mark it all the way down through here, all the way around. After you do all that, you come over here to all 4 corners of it, get yourself a drill bit, auger bit, something like that, make you a hole on all 4 corners, stick your jigsaw down in there, run that jigsaw all the way around down through here, make sure you got some support underneath it so it don't fall down in there, damage anything, and that's how you remove this. This is going to be the basic setup for this sink right here, including a dishwasher installation that we're getting ready to do. Now, depending on the type of sink that you're installing and of course the layout of your drain lines and things like that, get a dishwasher, garbage disposal, that sort of stuff's going to influence what type of parts you need to buy. This is going to be the basic setup for this sink right here. You're going to need to get yourself some basket strainers, which is what these are right here, by DEARBORN Brass DB1000. Plus we got the dishwasher connection kit, 1.5 inch P-trap, and you need this type of waste outlet for a dual bowl sink. If you got a single bowl, you're going to use a separate kit. It's always best going ahead and assembling all this stuff topside while you got it up on top here. Plus you might need some plumber's putty and leak lock. Start out by installing our basket strainers. This is your actual strainer basket. This is your TPV washer. The slip nut, your lock nut is right here. The mounting cup is right here, along with a friction ring, an extra thick black washer, and the strainer body itself. So you go ahead and start taking apart all that. Get out your plumber putty and the strainer body, roll you some up like Play-Doh, wrap it all the way around the strainer body, then start pushing it down nice and flat all the way around it. It doesn't need to be made perfect, just decent. Because whenever you tighten all this down, it's going to push any excess putty out, and then you can scrape it off afterward. You take your sink, stand it upright, get your strainer body here, go ahead and stick it through one of the holes. Get your big black washer, put it around it. Friction ring goes on. Your mounting cup goes on. Then your lock nut. Kind of hold it in place here, make sure everything's pretty well nice and even, feel around on the inside for the outer groove right there. And start running on your lock nut. At this point, it doesn't have to be super tight, it just needs to be tight enough to where you can make sure everything's good and adjusted and it's right where it needs to be at and it don't look funky on the other side. You'll save this washer and slip nut for last whenever you're installing the PVC lines. You do the same to the other side. Then you come over here to the other side, you make sure everything's nice and even in the hole the way it should be. Not sometimes you'll have it way up on this lip right here, way offset to one edge or the other, and it looks awful whenever you get it installed. Everything where you want it at, everything's nice and snugged up. Now's when you need to tighten it down. Personally, some people will come across different types of basket strainers that will require special tools depending on what kind of basket strainer you've got. Using these types of basket strainers because it's nice, simple, and to the point, you can get yourself some basic wrenches and get this job done. For an example, this is a multi-tool by OIMERRY. Pick this thing up on Amazon. It's got several different features about it that some people might find appealing. It's clearly got a wide enough jaw to where it will fit around these lock nuts, plus it's a stubby style wrench. So you ain't got to worry about having a lot of room if you're doing this underneath the sink. Also like the fact that I can put my hands in between the jaws right here, and I can use these 2 little nubs on the side to stick in between the strainer basket. You can see right there, they go right in between those holes, and that helps hold this in place whenever you're tightening down the lock nut. Also make a specialty tool that you can pick up, stick down inside there to hold it in place as well. And if you don't want to buy that sort of stuff, you can go to your local Tractor Supply, pick this set of pliers up for $10 and it'll do all the same stuff. It's got these spuds here on the tip of it. You take them spuds and you stick them right down inside here and hold the pair of pliers with your hand while applying pressure to it. All you need is another pair of pliers. Personally prefer using KNIPEX. Slide it onto the lock nut like so. Hold your other tool in place up top, and then you start locking the nut. Pliers up top help hold the strainer body in place while you're tightening up this lock nut. That way you keep everything nice and even and you ain't got to keep flipping the sink over back and forth to tighten all this stuff down. Don't take much pressure to get it nice and tight. Once you get this one done, you move on to the next one. Once everything's nice and tight, you flip it over, make sure everything's still in line, and adjust accordingly. Go ahead and put a piece of 2x2 underneath the back of the countertop here. Lay the sink this direction so we can go ahead and get our faucet installed. I personally like using the Delta Classic because this is definitely a premium grade faucet, and you can rebuild them if you have them for an extended period of time. Great for rental properties. Plus, these are nowhere near as difficult to assemble as what older brands are. We're going to have our faucet, the hoses with a diverter right here. It's going to be where your spray hose assembly plugs in at. Then we have our lock nuts, tubes, caps, things like that. First thing first, we'll get our gasket here. You'll see it says front. So we're going to be placing it frontwards with this side down. That way it keeps it from sliding back and forth. The side that says Delta is going to face toward the front. So now we start fishing our hoses down through the center hole right there. But that's all dropped into place. We're going to put our 2 lock nuts on the bottom. Now, whenever those are both in there nice and snug, not necessarily tight, come make sure everything here is lined up, make sure you're not offset in any way, then you can tighten them up by hand. Now you're ready for the hose. This, stick it inside here, go ahead and run it up in there, drop it down into the far right hole, put the lock nut on. Tighten it down, grab your spray hose, go ahead, come over here and start fishing it through the hole. We'll come over here to the diverter, pop open this clip, take the cap out, your hose nipple, insert it, push firmly until it's locked into place. Once it's locked into place, you simply close the clip. It should be in there nice and flush. You give it a good tug just to make sure it's not going to pop out. And these you can keep laying around in case you ever need to unhook it, or in the event that you don't have a sprayer hole. Now with everything assembled here, all that's left to do is go ahead and take us some tub tile silicone, run it all along the edges of the countertop cutout right here. Afterwards, we'll take this sink, flip it over, and install it. Best if you go ahead and apply the caulk all the way around, simply because anytime you're going to be around the sink, something's going to get wet. You got some backsplash back here, it's going to run down, go underneath your sink. You're going to have potential water damage, molding, rotting wood, things like that. Something you don't want to have to deal with in the future. So definitely place you some caulk there. Now you're going to grab your sink and go ahead and install it. Get it right over where you need it at. Set it right over top of your caulk. Drop it down in place. It should sit right inside this countertop perfectly fine. You can even see the areas where the caulk was at. Now's when you need to get out your mounting anchors. They should look like this right here. Now, if you go to assemble the screws yourself, they're going to be going through on this side of it, and it's a left-hand thread. But whenever you're tightening it up from underneath the sink, it's going to be a right-hand thread. So once you get all these assembled, then you can take them with you and crawl underneath the countertop. And now is when our specialty tool here comes in handy. Whenever you start out on this, you're going to want to space these about 3 inches from the end of each side of the sink. Each one of the anchors that you install should be about 3 inches from the other one. This is a tight confined space down here. There is little notches in each one of those rails right there, so you can take these and you can slide it through one of those notches. Go around with my finger without even looking, take the barrel end of that screw, stick it in there, and then just kind of slide it over. What I want to do with these anchors is take them and turn them around there to where the teeth are going to bite into the countertop on the bottom side. Go ahead and hold it in place with my finger and start tightening it up by hand. Make it super tight. I'm just going to get these nice and snug right now. Get them right where I want them to be at. Down here to the end, do the exact same thing. I'm going to slide the anchor in through here. I'm going to turn it around, put it about 3 inches down, and then I'm going to start tightening it up. Once you get all those in nice and snug, because this is a tight confined space, you simply take this tool right here with a flathead screwdriver on the end of it and a beveled end around it. You should be able to stick it straight up here, right over the end, and then you can tighten it up by hand. Just don't over tighten these because you will break the countertop or potentially tear up the sink. If you got enough of them in place, you do that all the way down through here, then your countertop will be installed. Like I said, the most complicated part's getting underneath here, and if you have that specialty tool, it makes this job really easy. You go down through there, put those anchors in, get them tightened down. Come up here, verify that everything looks good and tight, and if any caulking is squished out around the sides of it, just clean it up. Now you can hook up your water lines to your angle stops. Of course, the blue is going to be on the right if it's hooked up correctly from your house, the red on the left. Now, some people look at these things, they're like, wow, these are nice and long. You can hook these up the way that they are, but some people do prefer cutting them. If you cut them, just make sure it's with a nice straight cutter. You cut it to whatever length you need to hook it up to them angle stops. If you're someone who needs to do that, you cut it, you take this nut, you slide it up on the line, and then you take these two shells right here, put it around the line, put it on top of your angle stop, hold it in place and tighten it down. But in most cases, I'll simply just take these things, loop them around. That way, if there's any problems in the future, something springs a leak, it's going to be easy to get in there and cut it off and reattach it where it sets at. For the most part, these PEX type lines hold up really great under pressure, and I haven't had a bit of issue out of them so far. See, I come down, I personally like to loop these and then attach them on top of the angle stops. Now you just need yourself an adjustable wrench, regular wrench, pair of pliers like this right here from Irwin, and you simply tighten them down. They don't got to be over tight, they just need to be tight enough to be good and snug to prevent any leaks. That way if you need to tighten them in the future, you got that option. So really for the rest of this video, I can't really tell you all exactly what to do or how to do it, just depending on what type of setup you got underneath your sink or not. So no matter what you end up doing to hook up your particular drain lines, I'm just going to show you the basics on how I'm hooking this one up now. We can go ahead and get our lock nuts right here, get our washers right here, and get them tied onto these pieces. Slide that lock nut on first. You need a longer one. Like I said, you can always go get a longer one. Go ahead and get your washer right here. Slide it up there, that way it'll hold everything in place. Do the same thing on both sides. Once that's done, you can basically configure how you're going to run your drain line. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get our drain hose for the dishwasher. The back of that nipple right there, and get it clamped down. Now that we got that hooked up, we just gotta hook up our supply line here. Put some leak lock on that. I'll get her threaded on here. Take our little Irwins. Get these things tightened up. Aside from doing a little bit of leak testing on this job is done. Now if you're someone who wants to continue where this left off, you got a dishwasher to install and some P-traps and all that sort of stuff, make sure you check out this video. Otherwise, I hope this helps somebody out. Give a dig, give me a like, share, comment, check out all these social media platforms. Most importantly, if you like doing that do-it-yourself hustle, pop the clutch on that subscribe button.